The elevator holds a steady hum, and that steady hum asks for no opinion. A soft motor tone stays under everything else, and nothing in it tries to impress. The sound remains even, and evenness often carries more discipline than force. A person stands without display, listening to a machine that does not flatter anyone. The doors stay closed, and the thin seal around them keeps its quiet pressure. A faint fan noise passes through the ceiling vent, constant and plain. Plain sounds can be honest because they do not compete for meaning. A brief chime rests in memory without demanding attention from the present moment. The afternoon outside remains distant, held back by metal, cable, and layered walls. Inside this small space, the hum keeps the same level and the same shape. Consistency has its own form of restraint, and restraint rarely needs decoration. The panel near the door gives off a soft electric buzz, small and regular. Regular sound has a clean edge, and clean edges often support clear conduct. Nothing here asks for admiration, only for accurate notice. The floor beneath quiet shoes stays still, while the ceiling carries the living noise. A person can hear that arrangement and learn the value of proportion. The fan does not rise to drama, and the motor does not sink into complaint. Both continue in their places, and order often begins there. A small click from the control panel settles quickly into the wider hum. Small sounds do not become larger through attention, they only become more exact. Exact notice can correct vanity because it leaves less room for invention. The walls return a mild echo, short enough to keep the sound near. Near sound reduces exaggeration, and exaggeration often weakens judgment. The afternoon light above the door stays pale and practical. Practical light matches practical sound, and together they leave little space for pretense. A distant shaft noise moves through the frame, then rests at the edge of hearing. Edge sounds remind the listener that not all truth arrives at the center. The person inside remains quiet, and the elevator remains quieter in a different way. One silence belongs to choice, and one silence belongs to design. The fan continues its thin circular note with no hurry and no pause. A sound without hurry often reveals how much hurry belongs to the listener. The number display gives a faint electronic tick, modest and brief. Brief signals can be enough when the structure around them is stable. Stability does not announce virtue, yet it often makes virtue easier to keep. The doors hold their line, and the rubber seam leaves no loose rattle. Good order often sounds like nothing extra. The motor tone stays low, shaped by weight, distance, and measured function. Function does not need charm to be worthy of respect. A person hearing the same hum can still choose between impatience and steadiness. The sound does not make that choice, but it exposes it. The ceiling fan adds its small layer, and the two notes do not argue. Coexistence without argument is a modest discipline, yet still a discipline. A short internal relay click appears, then returns to silence. Silence after a clear sound can feel cleaner than silence without contrast. The handrail along the wall remains untouched, bright, and still. Untouched things often show that enough has already been done. The elevator keeps to its narrow task, carrying weight without conversation. There is a kind of moral clarity in work that does not borrow importance. A faint vibration lives inside the hum, too steady to become disturbance. Steady pressure is easier to bear when it stays within known limits. The person does not need to master the sound, only to hear it correctly. Correct hearing is smaller than wisdom, but close to it. The panel light holds steady above the button, neither bright nor weak. Measured signals are easier to trust than dramatic ones. The afternoon remains outside the doors as a distant condition, not an argument. Distance can reduce confusion when it stays acknowledged. A soft mechanical murmur moves through the frame and settles back into the bass note. Return to the bass note gives the ear a simple form of order. Order does not solve character, but it can reveal character under little pressure. The elevator offers that little pressure without spectacle. A person standing here hears the difference between noise and interruption. That difference matters because not every sound deserves equal judgment. The fan, the motor, and the panel each keep a separate duty. Separate duties carried well create a structure that asks for less correction. The air vent gives a light breath of sound, thin and continuous. Continuous sound can steady thought when thought does not resist plain facts. The person remains one part of the scene, not its center. That is useful because clear thinking often begins with reduced self-importance.